welcome back to the channel. You join me today on what's going to be 2 nights on my premium water. I'm already all set up. I wanted to get the rods out as quick as possible today because I came down after work, so it's already about 7 o'clock. So I wanted to get those rods out as soon as possible so they could be in the water for as long as possible, you know, before it got dark. Leading up to this session, I've been and ahhing about how to approach it because of the weather. So we've got very high pressures. We're above 1030 for the next 2 nights that I'm here, and most people would obviously, you know, say zigs are the way to go, and I probably would agree, although I've got no confidence in them myself. I've not used them enough or even caught anything on them to have enough confidence in them, especially on this water being as difficult as it can be. But I've known for almost 2 weeks that I was going to be doing this session, so leading up to it, every couple of days I've been pre-baiting. I started by pre-baiting a wider area, and then as time progressed and I kept my eye on the weather and what it was supposed to be like during my time here, I focused that pre-baiting onto one swim, and just hoped that obviously it would be free when I got here. Luckily it was. So I've been pre-baiting for just over a week and a half with my lovely boilie mix. If you check a couple of videos back on my bait mix video, you'll see exactly what goes into that and all the goodies that are in there. In the end, I decided not to go for zigs and to just fish on the bottom, hoping that all that pre-baiting works. And to be honest, during all that time of the pre-baiting, I've not seen anything, you know, on the upper layers. So I'm hoping that perhaps with it being a bit shallower in certain areas, that, you know, they are still eating off the bottom. If nothing comes of that and we get to tomorrow and I start seeing a few cruising about, then you know, I'll contemplate putting a zig on. Anyway, I'm here for a couple of nights, so there's plenty of time to chop and change what I'm doing and move spots. I'm not going to go on anymore though because I'm absolutely starving, so I'm going to get some grub on the go. Too much later than when I first spoke to you, but I was concerned when I got down here and set up that I may, you know, miss that sort of bite time, and that does seem to have been the case. I guess you never know, but I personally couldn't see it happening now until perhaps early morning. Saying that, there have been a couple come out recently in the middle of the night, although it is a lot colder at night at the minute than when those fish came out, but there's always the chance. I'm confident my rigs are sat nicely. There's a good scattering of bait around them, and that's bait I've been introducing for the past couple of weeks, so, you know, I'm sure they've been feeding on it. But I'm going to call it for tonight, get tucked up in the bivvy because it is already getting pretty cold. But hopefully I might be speaking to you in the middle of the night or get a nice wake up call in the morning. We'll have to see. So it's now the morning. Obviously, you know, nothing happened in the night except for a couple of ducks going through all 3 of my lines. Not to worry though, I reset the bobbins and hoped that obviously, you know, they hadn't pulled the rigs or anything, and looking at the lines in the water now, they don't seem to be any different, so I think they pulled line out the spool rather than pulling the line under the water, so we're okay there. It's a very cold morning. It got very cold last night, and a lot of the time obviously, you know, that would kill it off, but it's been like this for a few days now where it's dropping that cold at night, where obviously you get a bit of frost in the morning. And you know, it's my understanding that when weather conditions are the same for a while, the carp get used to it, and it doesn't affect them as much. So hopefully the weather being like this during my session, hopefully that's not going to kill it off completely, and they're still going to be on the feed. I have been up a while now, and I've been, you know, pacing up and down the bank that I'm on. I've not really seen anything. So whether that means there's nothing actually down this side, which I would be surprised at, because there always seems to be something, you know, around here, or they're just low in the water and not really showing themselves at the minute. The sun has now started to hit the water, so hopefully that'll, you know, start to warm it up and the fish might wake up a bit. We've still not gone past what I would consider to be the morning bite time, so I'm not going to make any hasty decisions just yet. Sit on my hands a little bit. I will obviously keep my eye out up and down the bank for any fish, and sort of try and move as far away from the swim as I can to, you know, see if I can find anything. But for now, we're just going to wait it out and see if anything happens in the next couple of hours. So as you saw, I've decided to have a bit of a move. I was walking up and down the bank all morning, and I finally spotted some a couple of pegs down on the corner. So I decided that's probably the best spot to move to fish tonight and tomorrow morning. But whilst I was moving all my stuff, I noticed a couple of rolls and sort of tail whirls really close to the island. So what I've done is I've just got one pop-up out now, just fishing right on that island in the hopes that something in the next hour or so, you know, will swim past and take it. My main focus though is going to be fishing into the evening, overnight and in the morning. So what I'm going to do is, before I leave for a little bit, I'm going to chuck a little bit of bait out on a couple of spots that I'm going to fish overnight that are in a bit deeper water, not as close to the island as I've got that pop-up, just to prime those spots. And then when I come back a little bit later on, probably about 4 o'clock, I'm going to cast to those spots and fish there for the night. I was a little bit concerned this morning that those ducks last night had pulled me into some snags, but after reeling in when I was moving, they were perfectly clean, so that just solidifies the fact that you know, there wasn't any fish down further down there. So I'm happy with this move. Like I said, I've seen fish. Just fingers crossed that they, you know, will drop down a little bit later on onto those spots that are prime, and we'll just have to see what happens. Traps are set. I'm much more confident in this spot than I was last night. I mean, I was pretty confident last night, and look how that turned out. But I mean, I've actually seen fish here for one, but my rods went out. My right one went out with an absolute thud, so that's on a perfect spot. I had foam on it, so I know that that's just going to have fluttered down nicely and presenting nicely. There's been bait on it all day, which they probably haven't been eating, but they know it's there. They'll be able to smell it and stuff like that, so I definitely think that's kept them in the area. I did mention earlier, you know, I have still seen them in the area, so that's another bonus. Second rod went down absolutely fine, perfect landing. Not as solid drop as the other one, but still fairly solid, so I know, you know, it went in probably just some thin silt. And I do use helicopters as well, so that's, you know, again, that's just going to be presented perfectly. and the third one was a much softer landing. I did feel the landing, so I'm confident that it was not landed on a load of lily pads that are coming up, as well as it being in the middle of the channel, so I'm fairly certain that's just landed in some deeper silt. But that's not an issue. I know they feed in the silt in here. I've caught them from the silt, and you look at a lot of their mouths and they're very dark, so I'm really confident with the placement of all my rigs. Still plenty of time to go before what I expect to be bite time, so hopefully any commotion I did cause it will have time to die down. So at about 5:30 this morning, my right rod screamed into life, absolute just one tone. So I jolted up, ran to the rod, and we had this little fella on the end. Lovely long common, 14 pound, so nothing massive, but after how difficult it's been the past couple of nights, it's obviously very welcome. I don't think, the time I've been here, I don't think there's been a single fish out except this one, so with it happening that early on as well, there's still time possibly for another one, so we'll just have to see what we can do. All three rods are finally back out after this guy wiped them all out, so got all three rods back on the spots, but obviously buzzing to have this one after how difficult it's been, so we'll get him back and we'll see if we can do anything else. Right, we're very near to the end of my time here. I'm not so sure anything else is going to happen, although just under an hour ago I did see some fizzing just off the corner of the island, so I took my left rod out, moved my other two over and cast a pop-up over there. There's still been little bits of fizzing here and there, but nothing's come of it as of yet, so gonna have a slow pack up now. If anything happens, it happens. If not, it's been a tough session. It's been really difficult conditions, really, dropping, freezing at night and then warming up in the day. Pressure over 1030, so very difficult conditions, really. But we managed to fish, and from what I know, from what I've heard, no one else has had a fish out during my time here, so you can't grumble at that. So we'll slowly get packed up, and if nothing else does happen, thank you for watching. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.